How was that for a day of track and field? Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon Mack. Thanks everybody for watching live on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't to the FloTrack podcast YouTube channel, and subscribe to the audio podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Gordon, how are you doing?
So obviously we decided that we're scheduling our podcasts in the morning, right after the evening session in Tokyo. It'll be simpler. All the best events are going to be happening, or most of the finals are going to be happening the morning in the States, and we're going to stick to that schedule. But was there a part of you who was thinking, hey, maybe we need to do a midnight podcast last night after what Carson Wilhelm just did?
I grabbed my microphone. I walked to my car. I was getting ready to drive in, Gordon. I was absolutely ready. Yeah, prime time here in middle of the day in Tokyo, but it was a prime time performance for Warholm. Yeah, absolutely. It felt weird to wait as long as we did to record. And then I looked at the schedule for today and I saw women's 8 and women's 2. And I was thinking to myself, what are the chances that those are underwhelming? Basically zero. So I thought, man, we're going to have just a completely stacked show. But I guess we'll start men's 400 hurdles first. Then we'll go to the finals we just saw and then work our way backwards from there. 45.94 for Carson Warholm. Rai Benjamin, second, 46.17. Alison Dos Santos, 46.72. The world record going into this race was 46.70 by Warholm. And that just happened. And he just completely rewrote the record book. And he had been, and Benjamin, and got to give credit to Abderrahmane Samba for a couple of years ago, started this trend of getting closer to world record, getting closer to low 47s, high 46s, a lot of high 46s. And then he eventually knocks the door down and does that 46.70. But Gordon, if you thought that was the outlier performance, if you thought that was going to be the last thing Warholm did in terms of time, you were sorely mistaken. It turns out he had a 45.94 in him.
He literally has changed this event. You could put, and Rai Benjamin for that matter as well. They just have this is like, in the marathon, the idea of breaking two hours in the marathon was unfathomable. The world record was 2:01, 2:02 for such a long time. And then Kipchoge came in, transcended the sport, and and even though technically no one has actually officially broken it on a sanctioned course, the same concept is there. The idea to change a world record, let's take away the world record he did earlier in the year, the 46.70, was 46.78, right, Kevin Young? That was the original world record, and that was around for 25 years. To take almost a second off the world record heading into the year and mainly do it in one race, it was like a 2% decrease, or like 1 point something percent decrease, 1 to 2% decrease in a world record. That's like taking 2 minutes off the marathon world record. That's like taking 3 to 4 seconds off the mile world record. You just don't do that. We're at a point in society where people don't break world records by that much anymore. Like, it's all about just another decimal here, another decimal, what, boom, boom, boom. But like, to do, it's just making also 400 meter times, 400 meter hurdle times, all of a sudden have a new perspective. Like, you used to think 47 seconds was like, whoa, you just broke 48. You're in the 42nd seconds tier. That's just a second away from where the world record is. Now we're gonna start normalizing sub 47. Like, it's all because when you've won 45.94 and the guy's in his prime, this isn't like the end of the road. Rai Benjamin's a year younger than him, runs 46.17. There's so many thoughts that go into this, but I really think I'm rambling a little bit, but I think there's a reason why this happened. The reason why this happened was because Carson Wilhelm was in front of Rai Benjamin. Carson is a guy who has to control the race, right? Because he's the world record holder. He's defending champ from 2019. He's the one that all the like he's the one who gets to control the race. And if the person controlling the race is on the outside of the main challenger, which was Rai Benjamin, Warholm had no leeway to like take a lay of the landscape of the rest of the rest of the lanes. He had to go from the gun, and he could never trust that his lead was big enough, or never trust that he was in a best enough position, and that forced him to go out hard, and it forced Rai Benjamin to continue to chase. And I really think if it was switched, I think if Warholm would have kind of ran off of Benjamin, and Benjamin would have been running like 46.5, 46.6, 46.7. And I think we probably would have had a world record of 46.5. But because Warholm was in the front, he knew he kind of was like running scared in a way. That made him go that extra 0.2 seconds, that extra 0.4 seconds. And then Benjamin benefited from it because he's just chasing a 45-second guy. So he's going to run 46.17. But that lane draw, hey, it all goes back down to semifinals. If Benjamin would have beat Warholm in that semifinals, their lanes would have been swapped, and then maybe we don't see a 45.94. So that semifinal was a blessing in disguise. It is incredible. I don't, man. That that's better than Rudisha's 800 in 2012. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that more.
No, I agree, and I'm a huge fan of that race. But I came up with a list of recent races that I thought now are vying for second best race I've ever seen, because this was it. You brought up the lane draw. Obviously, a lot of things go into this. The track is quick. Obviously, times have been fast. The weather conditions are great. You have a rival there who you know you need to be at your best to beat, but you also have just an incredibly deep field. We mentioned Dos Santos running 46.72, and you have PRs all throughout the field, basically. And in 2019, in Doha, it wasn't supposed to be this fast, but we thought the world record was going to get obliterated because we had Warholm and Benjamin against each other. It was for the second time. They had run earlier that season. It was fast and it was really close. And for whatever reasons, the times didn't produce in Doha. But I think now when you look back at it, it just has to do more with that was the fluky one-off, right? That was the, oh man, how do we get these people together? And they didn't run an amazing world record, because you could see what they created today. If you go back and watch the race, Gordon, you know how in swimming they have that world record line throughout the entire race that you can follow?
Yeah.
So okay, go back and watch the race with the knowledge that Dos Santos basically ran the world record. He ran 46.72. He was 2/100ths off the world record. Dos Santos was the world record line, and Warholm makes up the stagger on him off the first curve. And then you're watching the last 100. You're watching the last 100, and your eyes are completely transfixed on this race. I don't know about you. Were you watching the clock at all at this race? This was such a good race, and Benjamin gave it everything he had. My whole focus, I thought in the back of my mind, hey, the world record is going to be gone. But then I was also thinking back to Doha 2019, and hey, you can't take anything for granted. And then Benjamin closes the gap from basically 100 to go to 50 to go, closes the gap. I think that's the closest he got, was right off of hurdle 10. And it wasn't until those final strides, when Warholm was clearly going to win, that I looked over at the clock, and I still, like, it was ticking from 44 to 45. And I thought, my God, what are we going to see when this thing stops?
Yeah, I wasn't looking at the clock either, but I had seeing the way Warholm was running, and then his final 10 meters, knowing that he was still looking good, and he didn't like kind of shut down after the final hurdle. I knew it was going to be a good time. I looked at it. 2019, Warholm was on the inside to Benjamin, so I think that's why I went slow. I think Warholm was like, I got to beat Benjamin, so just cue off of him, and Benjamin's going to run, but Benjamin's not going to go for broke, right? He's going to try to control himself, and then Warholm just kind of is going to need to run as hard, because he just says, I just got to beat Benjamin. And I think in this situation, Warholm knew he had to run as humanly fast as possible, because he knew, if I see Benjamin at all in the race, I'm I'm screwed. Like, it's over. I'm not
Mhm.
going to win because he'll be making up the stagger on him, and that'll be all she wrote. And the only time Benjamin got close was in that final hurdle. And I think he
Mhm.
probably saw him on his shoulder, and then he had that last acceleration after that final hurdle. Man, like, this is awesome. I I just hope this isn't the end of it, right? They're young,
Mhm.
right? They're Warholm born
Yeah.
in 96, Benjamin 97. Dos Santos, who just almost broke the old world record, was born in 2000. He's 21. So, like,
Yeah.
you have to
I
we Samba hasn't been the same, but like now we have Dos Santos from Brazil to kind of give us a big three. Um
Mhm.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
Dos Santos almost broke the world record, and we don't even consider him in the big three anymore. Like, it's just like, that's how
Well,
crazy Warholm has been.
when 45 becomes the new 46, things start to change. You start to look at
Yeah.
high 46s completely differently. It's interesting. You brought up the Doha race again with the lane draw. I think the margin there was 0.24. It was 0.23 today. So similar margin of victory. And when I went and you watched that last hurdle, it kind of looked like coming off the last hurdle, you're like Benjamin's really pushing. And of course he's pushing because the guy he's chasing is running sub 46. And you're thinking, oh, maybe he has a chance to close because Benjamin's such a good closer. But he had to go so fast just to get to that point, right? When you saw him going off of 7 and 8, Benjamin was tearing off those hurdles. Like, were you so used to him being so smooth? And he was smooth here, but you could see the urgency, and credit to him for believing he could do it. I just think off that last hurdle just completely runs out of gas. And then you look at the time and it makes perfect sense because why would you have anything left if you're running 46.17? 46.17 and getting silver and 46.72 to get bronze is just cruel. But I mean, they made the race. They made it what it is. And to answer your question, are we going to see it? You hope this isn't the end. I hope so too, but I've also learned not to assume everything's going to get faster. And I hope they have a lot of great races. Put the times aside for a second. I just hope we get to see them have a lot of great races. But if the time and the planets never align again in the future, at least we got this one. I want to see him keep racing. But if we don't see from this generation another sub 46, which could be possible, then I'll just savor this one because man, I jumped off my couch. I made some weird noise. I don't even know what it was. Everybody was asleep in my house. I think I woke some people up. It was so weird to see the 45 pop on the clock. Like once that was on the screen, I just was so disoriented about what had just happened. And I prepared myself for everything. I prepared myself for a world record, but he just outdid it somehow.
Yeah, it'd be like seeing a 42 pop on the clock for Open 400. It'll be like seeing
Mm.
a 139 pop up on the clock for an 800. It's just like, you're not supposed to be in this realm. We're not there yet. It's only 2021. We gotta wait till like
Yeah.
2050 to be in that realm.
Yeah.
I do think one advantage that we will have to potentially seeing this again is Rye is still young, and he still now has another carrot ahead of him, right? The carrot
Yeah.
of breaking the world record. Obviously, he had the carrot of world record / American record by Kevin Young, but now I think Rye Benjamin doesn't have a reason to kind of settle, and he's going to want to still win, and Warholm is not going anywhere, so there'll
Yeah.
still be that factor. And I think he's going to be like, hey, Warholm just ran sub 46. I want to run sub 46. So I think these next 22, 23, 24, I think we'll see at least one more 45.
One more classic. Yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. And that's kind of the frame of reference that I use when I think about how this plays historically. And before we talk about it historically, Vernon Norwood tweeted that, and others, Rye got to anchor the 4x4. Yes, I think Rye Benjamin was on the 4x4 before this race, and now he's certainly on it because you can just do some simple math here. He ran 46, 17 with barriers in his way. It doesn't take a genius to figure out, like, you take those things away, he's going to run ridiculously fast. Okay, historically now. And Travis,
Carson Warholm is the 146nd fastest 400-meter runner in the world this year. Albeit he had hurdles in his way, but it's just crazy that he's top 150 in the world. Like they need to make sure they put this mark on the 400-meter books. Like that's where it belongs. It belongs on both the 400-meter hurdle books and the 400-meter books because he just ran like. Do you think they'll do that? Do you think they'll, because it's a sub 46, they'll add Carson
No.
Rollholm as like 400-meter marks? Oh yeah, he ran a 45 second. People are gonna skip over it thinking like, oh, okay, that must have been like an open 400. Oh wait, no, he did that with hurdles. It's incredible.
So Travis, I'm not able to load the chat. So if you have any good stuff in the chat, just send it to me. Historically, you mentioned better than London, the 2012. People are talking about greatest race ever, greatest Olympic race ever, greatest men's race ever. It helps to put a little, like, to shrink the universe a bit because track is, there's so many events. It encompasses so many different competitions. You could talk about the marathon, you could talk about the shot put, you could talk about the 100, you could talk about Olympics, world championships. So it helps to limit it a bit just to know exactly what it is we're trying to define. So I just thought of races that I've seen in my lifetime or just prior to my lifetime. I, of course, thought of Rudisha 2012, where he breaks his own world record, goes from the gun, leads everybody to really fast times in London, drops it under 141. So you had the 140 for the first time ever. Thought about Van Niekerk 2016, 43.03. Wasn't as big of a drop in time, but still the fact that he got that close to sub 43 was notable. Michael Johnson in 96. You talk about a big drop in performance in that 200 in Atlanta. Takes the record from 1966 down to 1932 in a 200. That's pretty phenomenal. You brought up Kipchoge before. Again, I'm just looking at men's performances in this era. And then I guess, Bolt 0809. I mean, it's obviously not as huge of a jump down in time, but just the wow factor of seeing a 958. The thing with Bolt, like you had the 969 and then you had the 958 back to back. Again, you could look at his 200-meter performances as well too. But for it to be the greatest race, I think it needs to have a couple different components. You have to have the big stage. So the Olympics checks that box, doesn't get any bigger than that. You have to have the huge performance, and it helps when it's a huge jump in performance. First time you're seeing 45 in a 400-meter hurdle race, something like that, or first time you see a 140 in an 800. And then there's this third part, which the other performances I mentioned were lacking. I think it has to have a co-star or stars. And that is where this one stands out. Because at Hurdle 10, this race was in doubt. We just both mentioned we were not looking at the clock at all. And you go back and look at those other performances that I mentioned, and the outcome was never in doubt. Not just in the race itself, but even in the build-up and the lead-up to it. We knew that Rudisha was going to handle his business. In the 400 in Rio, Van Niekerk was just, everybody was running fast, but he just blew everybody away, right? And then coming off that last curve, they had no chance. Everybody ran a great race, but he was just a lot better. This was close. Like, let's put this photo up here. I mean, that's insane to think just how close they were in this race, and the winner ran 45.94. So you put all those components together, the big stage, the huge jump in performance, and the co-star. I think it matches up. You could look at another, like the men's long jump in 91, Powell versus Lewis. Obviously, there was a 1-2 dynamic there as well. I'm willing to hear the debate. I think it's a fun debate to have, but what do you think?
I think your point of having a co-star makes this race clinch the top race of all time, because when you see incredible performances, normally you're the only one who can ever do it, not only of your generation, but of all time. But the fact that there was two athletes on the track running near 45-second pace shows that like it's like double all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we saw this race and Rye wasn't in it and or Rye was in it and Rye was getting beat by a whole second, if Rye was back with Dos Santos, it would have been all about like incredible Warholm performance. But
Mhm.
it would have been more about Warholm. But I feel like our big reaction is the race. It's not really Warholm. We're talking about the race. Now, Warholm is the star of the race because he won and he deserves all the credit. But we're not talking about greatest performance ever. We're talking about greatest race ever, which is
Mhm.
more, in my opinion, harder to achieve because you need all things to happen. And also it's better, right? Because we always say, like, in the end, track and field is about competition, right? It's not about
Yeah.
time. And we sometimes get all bent out of shape over chasing records and time trials. And what we love is the perfect combination of still getting those great times, all-time great times, but also having the actual pureness of the sport, which is the competition and the race. And Benjamin being in there, I'm sure Warholm is much more thrilled that his 45.94 comes with second place running 46.17 than would have been if he's running in a different era and second place is running 47.2 and he's just smoking everyone. It's like, all right, this isn't, it's like watching, sometimes blowouts aren't fun, right? No one likes to watch a
Right.
blowout. You want to watch game 7, final shot, 2 seconds left, and, go in. So
I think
as
that's a
much
good
as,
distinction
yeah,
that you made.
yeah,
There's a difference between best race and best singular performance. And for the last couple of years, because Warholm's on 3 years now being undefeated, I've said this guy doesn't need anybody to run fast because we've seen him do it time and time again. He takes that outside lane in these diamond leagues, knowing he's not going to need anybody to run fast. But what I
he needed
learned
to ride here.
watching last night, he can go faster when he has somebody else. Yes, he can go fast and go all time fast and break a world record without anybody. But to put that time into outer space, which is what he did today, you needed Rye. You needed Rye. So yes, he could have done um, a world record by himself, and we've seen that time and time again. But to create like a classic, he needed somebody else in this race because coming off that last hurdle, having that person, I mean, he's breathing right down his neck coming off that last hurdle. So you got to see him, got to feel him at least. And that is, I think you're right, what pushes it from 46.2, which we still would be losing our minds about, by the way, if he broke the world
Yeah.
record by half a second or 40, even if he ran 46.5 and took a couple tenths, that's still a big jump up in time, especially compared to what we've seen recently. But you don't get the sub 46 without Benjamin there.
Yeah. Incredible. Dude, so much else happened, like, in the past.
I know. I need to like take a break. I want to go to like I know nobody wants a commercial, but I want to go to like a commercial break. I feel like I need to take a deep breath and relax here. Let us know what
I
you
think we
think
talk
in the
about the
chat.
200.
Okay.
The chat wants us to talk
Yeah.
about the 2.
Okay. We'll go to the
So,
2,
so
and then we'll go to the 800. Go ahead.
So I think everyone expected Thompson Herah to win after what she did, obviously, in the 100 and the semis of this 200. 21:53. It's kind of weird. It just kind of felt expected, which is incredible
Mm-hmm.
that we're now just expecting 21.5s out of an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I think Elaine Thompson is kind of, I mean, I'm still thinking about the men's 400 hurdles when I'm watching this 200, so it's kind of weird. But Elaine Thompson running 21.53 is just like, we're taking for granted how great of a double she's done, and
Number
now she's
2.
pulled off the double double
Number 2.
double, right?
The
Oh, yeah, I
double
guess
double.
double
The double
double,
double.
double double,
The double double. Yep. Yep.
animal style, yeah, double double animal style. So it's 21.53, still a few tenths off of FloJo's 21.34 world record, but I think if we get Sha'Carri Richardson to like get into peak form, maybe Sha'Carri could be the ride to Warholm for Elaine and push Elaine next year, right? If you have another athlete in there who's also running 21 mid or 21 high low, maybe that'll push Elaine to need to have that bolt like move and drop the 200-meter time into an era we haven't seen in a long time, right? And breaking 21:34. But yeah, double-double, very impressive. And it's not an easy double-double. There's people who win Olympic titles that the fields are weaker than other years. This was a legitimate double. Obviously, we know what happened in the 100, one of an all-time great fields. This 200 just as good. There were a couple knicks-knacks, Shawnee Miller-Weibo looks like she didn't want to try. There's a couple people who didn't qualify into the final due to injury, or just not having a good semis. But the time she ran, 21.53, no one was beating that this year. So all the asterisks thrown out the window. She won Olympic gold 4 times in a row. Incredible.
It was a historic performance. Not just the time, but the first person or the first woman to do that double-double. I mean, and now she has a chance to really build on her legacy the next couple of years with all these other major championships. And Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is still ahead of her in terms of global golds, but Thompson, hurrah, now has the double-double, and then she also has the times that most athletes, save for basically Flojo, really in the 200, and then you go to the 100, and after she ran her 1061, it's just Flojo there too. So she's racing basically marks from 40 years ago, marks that were deemed to be untouchable. That's where Elaine Thompson is at right now. So I'm also hearing some arguing about, hey, is she the greatest female sprinter of all time? And it's tough to make that argument because coming into these Olympics, it's like, no, that's Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, and she's going to bolster her argument when she's in Tokyo. And now Elaine Thompson is making a serious run for that. I'd still have Fraser-Pryce one just because the sheer longevity of it, but with 22, 23, 24, and 25 right there, and Thompson, hurrah, posting these times, it's going to be in doubt pretty soon, I think.
So what's the medal count? Olympic medal count between the two of them. So
you're just counting Olympic medals now? Is that what we're doing? We're gonna forget the World
No.
Championships exist?
No, we'll count World Championships, but I'm don't only count individuals. I don't want no relay stuff. So
you don't want no.
So Elaine Thompson, obviously 4 gold there, and then she has a silver in Beijing. Should we count indoors? We're not counting indoors. Don't count indoors. Let's not count indoors. There's no indoor Olympics. We're not counting indoors.
No, I don't think you need to. So Fraser-Pryce.
Yeah.
We're talking. So you're talking 100, 200 Olympic medals or Olympic golds?
Let's do just Olympic medals.
Okay, so
say how many
has 5
gold.
Yeah, so Fraser-Pryce has 5.
She has 5. Okay, yes, well, she's got Elaine Thompson
2 gold, has 5. 2 silvers. Yes, but then look at what I'm saying. World Championships exist too.
Oh, I'm including worlds. Yeah. Well, no. Global medals. Elaine Thompson.
Oh, you want me to add 5. Yeah. So Fraser-Pryce has 5 just in the Olympics, and then you're going to add in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more from the World Championships. So she's got 10. If I'm counting this right.
Okay.
And I think I am.
So it's 10-5 right now.
Yeah.
But Shelly-Ann is 34. Elaine Thompson is 29.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think she can get 5 more and prevent Shelly-Ann from getting any more to get past 10? Do you think she can get 5 in the next 3 years?
Well, there's no defense in track and field, so she can't prevent Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce from getting a medal, and she can't fill up all 3 spots. Do I think Elaine Thompson, hurrah, between 22, 23, 24, and 25, where she has 8 opportunities there in the 100 and the 200? Do I think she can go 5 for 8? Yes, absolutely. I think she can go 5 for 8. Is it a guarantee? No. She's had injury issues in the past, but this performance to me, it reminds me of that, the 2015 performance, right? Where she ran that crazy 200 against shippers. And that was 6 years ago. And in between then and now, she's obviously done the double-double, but she's also had, years where she's struggled with injury. So no guarantee, but she bolstered her case tremendously in these couple weeks. So I want to go through. I want to touch on some people individually here in this race because we mentioned Miller Weibo, which we'll just do real quick, and then we'll go back to the medalists. She was out in lane 9, and she ran the 400 this morning in the morning session in what was just a ridiculously easy, 50.5. Like, it looked like she could have run 48 high for sure, just based on how slow she ran that last 100. But she gets to this tough lane draw. She's out in 9. I think people go by her. I mean, she ends up running into last place. I think she just basically said, "Hey, I'm saving things for the 400." Did you have a different read on that?
I mean, yeah, she ran 24 seconds. She clearly jogged and was like, all right, I'm done. But why do the 200 if you're done? I don't get that. Like, was she
Honest effort
like,
rule, I
oh,
think.
if I,
I think you have to. You have to, right?
why did she enter the 200 in the first place?
Oh,
Because
I think you run the wrap.
first 2 rounds were before, the first 2 rounds
Well,
were before the 400. Like, did she not think she would get out of the first round of the 400? Like,
you want to maybe, or also just you give it a shot.
why are you running a 20?
Then,
She ran 22-1 in the semis in the 200. Why is she coming back? Like, why put that effort in the 2 semis if you knew you were going to come in there and just do a 24-second final?
I don't. Maybe it was
like,
just,
why don't you do a 24-second semifinal? I don't know. Like,
she's looking at the personnel out there, and she. I don't know. It's tough too because she's a come from behind runner, so she's starting out there in 9, so she's got no one to key off of. But I don't think it's changed anything for the quarter. I think she's a huge favorite for the quarter. Her first 200 in the quarter is going to be faster than this 200.
Yeah,
she's going to go out she'll go out way faster than 24. Okay, I just want to mention that.
yeah.
Okay,
I was upset. I put money on her. I put money on her to medal, and then she just totally sandbagged. I wish she would have told me, send me a text or DM, be like, "Hey, don't do this. I'm not running fast." It's like, oh, I would have put it on someone else then. But
don't do it. Okay, let's talk about the silver medalist, Christine and Boma, who had herself a meet, gets another PR, world under 20 record, runs 21:81. Did it the same way she's raced all season, just did it a little bit faster with the slow start and then the furious comeback at the end. We know the story about how she was originally racing the 400 this year, posting some really fast times. But because of the World Athletics regulations surrounding natural testosterone, she was not able to compete in events 400 to the mile. So she goes in the 200 and gets a silver, Gordon.
This is awesome. One for because World Athletics is trying to say you're not allowed to exist, and she says, "Well, okay. You want me to run a 200? I'll just get second, and the only person who's going to beat me is going to be an all-time great." And I just think that the fact that, one, she's able to adjust so quickly from the 4 to the 2. She hadn't been running the 200 much, and like her PB going into the Olympics was what, 22 mid or high? Like, what was her PB? Mm-hmm. Let's bring up her World Athletics page. No, that one. No, go to 20.
That was before the season.
Go to results. Go to results. Go to overall results, Travis, so we can see her 2021 results. So going into the Olympics, her PB was 22:67.
Mm-hmm.
22:67, and then she runs 22:11, 21:97, 21:81. Basically goes from middle of the pack to elite of the elite in just 2 days, 1.5 days. I think, one, I'm happy for her that she medaled. She has a fun running style with her sit and kick in a 200. You normally don't see that often, but sit and kicking in 200, cool. I guess it works. You would love to see what she can do in a 400, right? Because if you can sit and kick a 200, imagine when you have
seen that
more
already,
real estate to keep kicking. Yeah, we've seen it, but if you had even more real estate, you could be running 47 seconds. I think, obviously, the World Athletics says she's not allowed to run the 400, 800, 1500 because of what DSD, designated sex something. What do they call it?
I think it's different in sex development is what it stands for.
difference in sex development. It was a rule targeted to Caster Semenya because they were upset that Caster was winning and they didn't know what to do. Because, hey, Caster didn't choose the way she was born. She was just literally born with the certain type of testosterone levels. And hey, it's weird. Michael Phelps has really long arms, and no one complains about that. But I do think World Athletics is going to be like, oh, new science is out. The new science now says 200 to 1500 can't compete if you're DSD. I have a feeling that's going to happen because as soon as one athlete, just takes one, starts winning medals or maybe eventually starts winning, they're going to be like, oh, the science says you're too good. So stupid. And I'm upset about it. But I'm happy that she is winning a medal in their face. So that's great.
So this is the problem with the World Athletics ruling, and people could see this coming from a mile away when they made it, because you have this entirely circular argument of if they're good in it, they can't be in it anymore. And that proves that they can't be in it anymore. So it goes around and around in circles. And the evidence, I think, initially, when they defended with Kaz, I think a lot of people thought it was going to get thrown out, that Semenya and the other athletes that were impacted by it would be allowed to run because they thought, okay, this doesn't have that much backing to it. But basically, a lot of the World Athletics case came down to, yeah, these are the events, but also if we see other people doing good in other events, it also impacts those events. And that, from a scientific perspective, I think they would need to present a little bit more to Kaz when it comes to the 200, because they're just basically saying, yeah, Semenya is really good in this event. She is DSD, ergo this event is not one that she can compete in. And I think it's hard to say someone can be higher profile than Semenya, but I think if they do it with Boma now, like if they do it with the 200 because of Boma, after setting these parameters, it's going to be very clear about what their intentions are here. And then if you look at the athletes that have been, excluded, they're going to put themselves in a very difficult position, and it's just going to limit options for those athletes. I mean, we've seen it with Nian Saba. She went from 800 all the way up to 5K and 10K because of it. She was able to qualify, but I would guess if they include the 200, someone is going to take a suit to CAS, Court of Arbitration for Sport, and then we're going to go back to this whole thing, except for the 200. And then the evidence they're going to say is, well, she got silver medal, so it's not fair. And then around and around we go.
You know what's great about this the whole reason that they're like just too good, right? Here's Caster's season's bests in the 800, the so-called event that she has an unfair advantage in. She ran 155 in 09, 158, 156, 157, 158, 202, 159, 155, 155, 154, 2, 154, 98. So basically a 155 flat. Okay, let's look at the women's 800. It was won in 155. Like the idea that Caster Semenya was like this like unicorn like from outer space who just had this unparalleled advantage over everyone. It's not like she was out there running 149. Like she was just running good times. She never even broke the world record. Like if someone has so much testosterone in them that they just have such a competitive advantage, wouldn't they be like breaking the world record in their sleep? Right? No. And Christine Boma, I mean, she runs 21. What was her official time? 21:81. Like, that's not like running 20.7 or 20.9. Like, it's just a good female time. And that's what's frustrating about it. Like, they made it pretend like these DSD athletes were just in a different stratosphere competitively against non-DSD females. But, like, clearly, they're just elite females. They're not, like, like, the winning time, Caster Semenya might have lost to the Thing Mo this year. I think the way she's been running 155, like So this whole
Yeah.
idea that like they were just running with like a 10-meter head start, nah. I mean, we see here.
Hmm.
Boma got second. She lost to Thompson Hurrah. She lost to one of the greats. She lost to and handedly too. So that that so-called advantage, I don't see it.
Hmm.
I don't see it. Get back to me when she's
Well,
running 20.99. All right,
the
get back to me when she's doing that.
yeah. So the rule as it stands, unless you take medication to suppress your naturally produced testosterone, 400 of the mile are out, and I guess they would have wiggle room. I mean, they're in charge. They can decide, hey, now that rule extends to down to 200, or maybe it extends up to 5K, or includes the steeplechase. But if they do that, there's also going to be a response from athletes who are impacted by it. Let's talk about Gabby Thomas here in third. I think a great result for her. 21:87. I think after the trials, people were thinking gold was a possibility. And obviously, you looked at how fast she ran Eugene. You got to entertain it. But if you talk about what was expected from her at the beginning of this season or going back to last season, with how good the women's 200-meter field is, to come away with the bronze is just a huge accomplishment for her. I don't know. Did you read it a different way? I just think this is a massive win. Even coming after the semis when Boma chased her down, and now in retrospect, you're thinking, well, that was it was pretty good that she kept that close to Boma because that's a future silver medalist there. But I thought she brought it at the biggest moment here, and it wasn't her fastest time of the season, but this was a tough 200 this year for the women.
Yeah, if I was giving her a grade, it would be like extremely, extremely, extremely solid A. Not an A plus, because an A plus means like you're running 21.5 and winning. But like the best, the most extreme solid A you could ever get is what she got. It wasn't A minus, it wasn't a B plus, it wasn't an F, and it wasn't A plus. It was just really good. I mean, she basically ran to her ability, and her ability resulted in an Olympic medal. Because when you look at the results, Thompson Hurrah, it's just another world. She's pulling off the double-double. Boma is just a new athlete that we haven't seen, and we weren't really expecting to even be in the 200 when Gabby Thomas was running her 21s at the Olympic trials. So the two athletes that beat her, you kind of just like you can see it coming. The unknown teen who just is coming into her own at the Olympics because she hasn't been racing that much, and obviously Elaine Thompson, who's potentially in maybe 3 to 4 years could become a GOAT. Gabby Thomas, she runs 21.8, beats Shelly Ann Fraser-Price. Shelly had every reason to want to get a medal in this race, and Gabby did it. And very impressive. The only American to make the final. I think I did a little debate with Lincoln a few weeks ago about, hey, I don't know about Gabby. I don't know if she's the favorite. Sure, she has the PB better than everyone else, or season's best. Right? I was like, she has, because all she was doing is racing Americans. And then the first 2 rounds, she still had yet to beat anyone, right? She wasn't winning she hadn't beat anyone like legitimate. She wasn't beating like a Shelly Ann or Elaine Thompson or just Dina Asher-Smith, who wasn't there. But like her resume was still dry, like just like empty going into the final. But now in this final, she can say, I beat Toulouse. I beat Shelly Ann. I got third in the final. That is now my resume. So she's ready to go, and hopefully she can maybe bring gold for USA on their home track in Eugene.
Yeah. So you look at women's and men's 200s for that matter, the last couple championships, and usually there's a lot of scratches, right? A lot of DNSs in the field, and there were some here, like Sharika Jackson didn't make it through, and Asher Smith didn't make it through, and obviously Miller Weibo wasn't at her best. But even put that aside, look at the people she had to beat to get the bronze. Fraser-Price, greatest female sprinter of all time, still, I think. Toulouse, who'd been running insanely fast. Masalingi, Kambunji, who was a medalist from 2019. Like, you compare this to the 2019 field, Gordon,
so much
and this
better.
was so much better, so much better. I mean, that was a party of scratches, basically, in 2019. Dean Asher-Smith, credit her for getting the gold medal, but this is just a much, much deeper field, not just in terms of times, but in terms of overall credentials and just what each athlete brought to the table here. So I think it was a really good result for for Gabby Thomas. It's going to be overshadowed in terms of media coverage because people are going to talk about Thompson Hurrah, as they should, does the double-double, goes number 2 all-time to Flojo. They're going to talk about Christina Boma because of the situation with her having to switch events, right? And then the third thing is they're going to get to Thomas.
No. The third thing is they're going to talk about Sha'Carri Richardson because she wasn't there. That's going to be the order, and then they'll get to Gabby Thomas.
Or they'll talk about Shrika Jackson not making it through, or Miller Weibo.
No,
how she
but
approached
I saw like U.S.
no.
media the way Sha'Carri has become kind of transcended.
Yeah,
her absence is still there, which is wild. So, but yeah, Gabby Thomas now has medal to back up, and I'm excited to see Gabby Thomas like now go into 2022 or even the second half of this season, like with like confirmation that she's there. Obviously, you felt like that confirmation was created after the Olympic trials, but leading up to the Olympic trials, she was kind of like, I mean, she had a couple of good like breakout NCAA performances, the indoor mark she did, but there wasn't like, she didn't have that moment. She had the moment in the trials, but then you could like kind of take away the moment by saying, well, it's just the trials. It's only Americans. Look what Jamaica's doing. But now that she was able to do it at the international level, it's like, okay, now there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm going to be a great sprinter here for the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying it's all a matter of timing and perspective, because if you said before the trials that she's going to be an Olympic bronze medalist, you'd be amazed, as you should. It's just when you run a 21:61, then everything changes, and we put so much value into times that it's easy to get swept away in it. But now we have, right now, after Thompson Hurrah's 21:05, you got two of the 3 fastest of all time competing in the event. It's going to be a very exciting couple of years. Women's 800 time, Gordon. Take me through your thoughts on the women's 800. Athingmo gets the win, breaks the American record. Keely Hodgkinson of Great Britain, another 19-year-old, gets silver, and then Raven Rogers, big kick for bronze.
There wasn't a second in the entire race, so I thought Mo was going to lose. Mo was going to lose. From as soon as the gun went off, I was like, she won. It's over. I was like, she's going to go out. I thought she would go out hard, and she did. She went out in 57 seconds. One of the commentators was like, oh, they're taking it out pretty easy. I was like, what? No, they went out in 28 seconds. It's not easy.
Yeah, it was honest. It was exactly what you thought it was going to be. When you talked about it yesterday, you predicted exactly what it was going to be.
Yeah, and it was what she needed to do, right? You don't take any chances with some people who are good sitting kickers. You know you're the strongest. You know you've been able to prove that you can do this style of racing after 2 rounds, because that's the challenge. Look at someone like Natalia. Bo can run a 155, 156 type race. It's a completely different animal. And Mo, after doing it at the trials, just showed that like, no, I know how to run fast in round 3, and not just like 158 fast. I can run a 155, and that's what she did here. Not a second in my mind where I thought she was going to lose. It was almost got kind of boring because I was like, oh, this just is a formality. Yeah, she has to run around the track twice for them to give her the medal. But there was like, she took the drama out of it. Like I felt like there was no drama, right? It was just like, I'm the best, and give me my medal. Thank you very much. And on to sophomore year of college. It's just wild.
She's completely at ease out there. Looks so comfortable. She never looks like she's under duress. I thought for a moment, with about 250 to go on the backstretch, that there might be a chance that she'd get beat, because that was the point in Eugene when the lead really grew and she put the race to bed. And this time it shrunk a little bit. I think it was Riki who made a move to close the gap, and Hodgkinson was right there. And I thought for a second, well, maybe one person will go by her or 2 people go by her and it'll throw her off her game and she'll lose her composure. But they never got there. She never relinquished the lead. So then when it was about 175 to go and the gap opened again at 150 to go, it was clear, oh, she left something in the tank. She went out in 57.8. She closed in 57 low. She ran a negative split. And then it was just a matter of what the time was going to be. And breaks the American record. I wasn't really paying attention to the American record. I just was 155. Whoa, like
Exactly.
I wasn't paying
That's
attention
what's so.
to it. Yeah, yeah. And then, well, this was a historically fast race, and it's credit to Mo for playing the role of the rabbit here, because you had 6 PBs, including the entire top 5. Hodgkinson breaks the British record. Rogers beats her PB to get up for the bronze. She's so good at closing over those last 50 meters. Riki of Great Britain gets a PB but doesn't medal. 156.9 and not medaling. I guess we'd have to go back and look and see when the last time that happened. 157 for fifth and sixth and seventh. I mean, this was a fast race, and it was all because a thing Mo went to the front and controlled it and ran it in a way that was gonna make the field like get the most out of themselves.
Yeah, it's number 11 all time in world history. Obviously, American record. Yeah, so the world record, 150. Only 2 women have broken 154. And then only after that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more women have broken 155. So I think she's going to be in the 154 range, and it's hey, she's young, right? How old is she?
Yeah.
What's
19?
What 19? She is ready to have a few years of epic dominance, and I think she's going to normalize running 156. And I think eventually she's going to have that moment where she runs a 154, and maybe, who knows? We get it once every decade or so. We get crazy races. Maybe she runs a 153 and breaks the world record, because she has the speed. She has the speed. She has the strength. She has everything you need. It is, like I said, she got so good that it got boring. It's wild, right? I don't know. It's the ultimate compliment I can give you. Like you make the bet, like you racing 7 of the fastest women in the world boring because you're so much better than them.
I'm trying not to look too far ahead. My mantra, I'm trying to stay in the moment, Gordon, because I've learned from these championships that the pressure is an illusion. So I don't want to get caught up in the weight of expectations. But here's what I want to have happen. Because now that she's run a gold medal, or she can go to Monaco, and she can knock on the door, headquarters of World Athletics, and say, hey, can I see the schedule for the next Olympic Games? Is it possible? Can we put the 400 in one part of the schedule and the 800 in the other? I want them to make that a realistic possibility, and not just a, hey man, Sifan Hassan could try this thing.
Yeah.
Like they were taunting Sifan Hassan with that schedule basically, and she's going for the triple. I want to where you clear it up so that way you give people a reasonable chance to pick it. They don't have to take this gigantic risk and run multiple races on the same day, because the time frame is long enough to where you can separate these things out. And I think Mo has proven that she could obviously get a gold medal in the 800 now, but she could contend for medals in both with how fast she's. I mean,
do you think she would? Do you think if
I don't want to talk with the 4x4 yet? I know that's where you're going.
I know, no, that's not where I'm going. Do you think if she was entered in the 400 right now, win gold? Not based off of pulling off a double, but was entered in the 400 fresh, she would win gold.
I'd still probably go Miller Weibo. No, I'd still probably go Miller Weibo, because I think Miller Weibo can run sub 49 right now. I think she could get. I think she'd go silver. I think she'd get silver is what I would pick. But yeah, again, I'm trying to stay in the moment here. Just real briefly on the 4x4. I love
that debate.
The nightmare scenario is in play, by the way, for the 4x4 for the coaches. It is now officially in play.
I was saying before, like, she can run the 400, 800, the trials, and like people talking about it, and she had a little bit, I'm going to do what I want to do type thing. I mean, you can't make more of a better decision when the decision results in gold. Like, there's not even like, I got bronze. Yeah. Well, maybe you could have got silver or gold in the 400. You can't do better than gold. So she passed that test pretty well, deciding between 400 and 800 for this year.
The coaches did a great job of planning her races this year. Yeah, she ran a lot, but she mixed it up between the events, and I thought it was a perfect way for her to measure out her effort throughout the year. Hey, do you want me to throw another wrench into the 4x4 situation? Real briefly. I don't want to go too far into this one. Do you see who got third in that 800? She's run some 4x4s before.
Oh, yeah. Raven Rogers. Should we do a all non-400 4x4? I want that. Yeah. I want that. Yes. Raven Rogers, Athing Mo, Dalil Muhammad, Sidney McLaughlin. Book it up. Let's do it. Sorry, Quinera Hayes. Sorry, Allison Felix. Sorry, Wadelin. Waddling. No, we're making it fun. We're keeping it weird. We're doing 2 800-meter runners, 2 4x4 100-meter runners. No, 2 800-meter runners, 2 400-meter hurdle runners, and they're gonna break the American record. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have them break the American record. That 4x4 could break the American record. A 4x4 with no one who's in the 400, I think could break the American record.
I got really excited about the record going down in Doha, and they ended up not being that close. And that was after you had 2 women go well under 50 in the open quarter, and then you had obviously Muhammad and McLaughlin. Like, that's a tough.
I think, yeah,
that's a tough mark. 3:15 is no.
I think
no joke.
I think Mo and McLaughlin could both run 48 mid, and I think Rogers and Dalila can run 49 mid. What does that equal? What's 48.5? I'll do that math.
All right, Gordon's doing some
plus
math.
48.5 plus 49.5 plus 49.5, 196 seconds. What is that?
196 seconds. Well, that'd be 3:16, which would, that's not the record.
Yeah,
it's
that's near it. That's near it.
3:15.5. So you'd have to go quicker than that.
Yeah, it's 3:15.5. So they have to go 0.5 seconds faster. All right. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's gonna. I think she's blocked by Mo, and I think the difference is Mo's run a bunch of quarters this year, and she's run really fast. I just think it's interesting because Rogers in college was an amazing 4x4 runner and has run in high pressure situations and just came off a PB of 156.8. So their bench is so deep. I think a question is, how many teams could the U.S. make at this point that could medal or get gold? It would be just of the people who are in Tokyo right now, not even going any deeper on the bench. It'd be pretty fun to see. Let's go.
If you can have 3, if you can sweep the 100, why can't you sweep a relay? Let people enter multiple relays if they're fast enough. It'd be fun.
All right, let's go. Let's go to the. So now we have prelims here. Well, we got field event finals, and then we got prelims. So I guess we can go to the 200 here.
Get long.
Yeah. Okay. The first heat, Arian Knighton 20.02. We'll get back to him in a second. Second heat, Noah Lyles eases up at the end, runs 19.99, finishes behind Brown and Fan Boulet, so I had to rely on a small queue. Then the third heat, Ante DeGrasse easing up, looking to the side, runs a PB, Canadian record 19.73 ahead of Bednarik, who was also looking aside, who runs 19.83. So each final, or each prelim here, each semi, let me get this right on the third try, each semi gave you something different here. What was your big takeaway from these semifinals for the Ben?
Bunch of takeaways. One, it's cool that all 3 Americans made the final, but you could argue, Joseph Fambula is also American, right? He has dual citizenship. He grew up in Minnesota. So it's kind of cool that we were all debating, like, where's Joseph Fambula? Why isn't he on the Olympic trials start list? And now he's on the Olympic final start list. It's kind of cool. And Liberia has a flag that kind of looks like the USA flag. So it looks like we have 4 Americans. Anyway, that's fun fact.
That was not my
looks
takeaway.
Pretty good. I know it's not my take. That's one takeaway. I think the big takeaway here is, can Noah Lyles prove us wrong again? He did run his heat kind of easy, so I don't want to give him any flack for getting third. Like, he wasn't trying. So, like, he was running, for all purposes, it was a win, even though he got third. because you shut it down. Yeah, I mean, Wallace Boomer says, "Damn man,
Okay.
I can't even say anything because I've shut it down before too." But shit, right? So yeah, we have a lot of these guys shutting. They're trying to
It was
conserve it all
risky.
for the final. It was
It was
risky,
risky.
but
It was really risky.
I wasn't that worried about it. He was running
Well, he
in
cost
short
himself a
shorts. He wasn't
lane.
running his tights. He was fine.
What
He got lane.
about the lane though?
What's fine? Lane people break world records in lane 9. This, that, the other thing. It's fine. He'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. It's no allows. But I am worried that
What about if you
might
bet
not
your house
win.
on it? Hypothetically, like
I
if you
think you
hypothetically
need
at the
to be
beginning of the
worried right
season.
now.
Yeah, I am.
I think I pre-ranked Kenny Bednarik. He got second in the seat. I think there's a chance that an Andre DeGrasse, a Kenny B, Arian Knighton, even a Fambula, I can see them all winning. Now, I do think there's also a big timeline of Noah Lyles winning because he's run 19.5. These other guys haven't done that. Andre Gross PB'd in the semi. Is that too much of an effort? We see sometimes people run. You saw what Ronnie Baker did to him.
He looked
in the
easy,
semi.
man. He looked easy.
It looked easy.
That looked easy.
It looked easy. Yeah, but it looked easy for Kenny B as well, and it looked easy for Noah Lyles, who was running 19.99. So, I think what I got out of this is Noah Lyles is not a lock. I think he's now less a lock. I think he is. I think it's a toss up now. I think it's a toss up, and I think you may need to have a long conversation with your wife tonight about what you've done to the deed of your house by putting it all in Noah Lyles back in the summer of 2020.
My wife, my realtor. I need to figure out alternate living arrangements. This looks very Olympic trialsy to me, where other guys are looking smoother going through. He's picking up, losses in these early heats. Granted, he had to sweat a little bit more here because he didn't get an auto qualifier, but people have just looked smoother and more effortless than him. And I get sprint prelims and semis are basically a competition to show who's trying the least, but like he didn't have that much of a margin. Like he didn't have the gap at 150 to do what he did. So if he gets stuck real tight inside lane 3, that's going to be real difficult for him to get out of it. It's a crazy thing. My buddy texted me. He said you could have a situation where Bromell, Norman, and Lyles all don't. Well, forget even gold. Like there's a situation where they don't medal, right? Like would a DeGrasse, Bednarik, Knighton 1, 2, 3 in the final surprise you after what we've seen from those 3 guys this year?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So I'm concerned. I'm definitely concerned if I'm a person who's staked their house on Noah Lyles. Now, the good news is the trials comparison, he comes back and he wins. But there's just not that separation that we're used to seeing from Lyles, right? Like in prior years, you'd see comes off the curve, puts in that awesome burst coming off the curve, but by 150, he's got that gap and can either shut it down or run all the way through. And we're not seeing that.
Yeah. I wonder what the odds are going to be for picking Lyles to lose, because I think it's kind of hard to say, oh, I'm all in on DeGrasse, or I'm all in on Bednarik, or I'm all in on Knighton or Fambula. I think it's being all in on not Lyles or all in on Lyles. Like I feel like that's the toss up right now. It's either Lyles or the field, and the field now has like a 70% chance to win, and Lyles is like 30%. That's how I would break it down. Of if I was making the odds, the 200 meter updated odds haven't hit, and I haven't placed my 200 meter bet, so maybe
I did.
have fun with it and see. Oh,
I
you
did.
already
I
did.
just did.
Yeah.
I did mine in March. That was the problem. I did mine in March. I just, it's hard to figure out. Credit to those guys for running fast. And DeGrasse, if he gets gold, he's earned it. He's been so consistent for so long, and that just looked real good. Kenny Bednarik's a great story. He looks solid. I wouldn't count him out for the final, but I wonder have they done the lanes yet, Travis?
Yeah, they have.
For the final?
So
okay, let's pull that up.
Lane 2 is Richards. Lane 3 is Lyles. Lane 4 is Brown. 5 Knighton. 6 DeGrasse. 7 Bednarik. 8 Fambula, and 9 Dwyer.
So he got 3. He got 3, lane 3.
He's in lane 3. Yeah.
Don't love
So
it.
Knighton being
Don't
on the
love it,
inside of
Gordon.
DeGrasse is pretty good. Knighton got a good lane. DeGrasse is good. Betty, it's going to be kind of running scared behind. It's not good for Fombula because Fombula is a chaser. He comes into his form in like the final 50. So he's just going to be waiting for people to pass him. And then he's like, all right, now go.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be one of the Americans or Fombula or DeGrasse. If anyone else wins, I'll be utterly shocked. If like Richards or Brown or Dwyer win.
Yeah. Of course. I'm impressed by how fast DeGrasse ran. I knew Bednarik had that in him, and also just you're still waiting for that Lyles moment. You're still waiting for it. And again, at the trials, he did just enough to win. We'll see if he can pull one out here again. Arian Knighton, though, what do you think of him? He just keeps meeting the moment. Wins his heat 20-0, but he was looking around the whole last 100, and it wasn't like a glance to the side at the very end. It was just frequent checks to the side. Hey, is anybody coming? Nope. Is anybody coming? Nope. How about over here? Nope. How about over there? Nope. Anybody here now? Nope. And just impressed with him, and easy to forget that he's only 17.
Yes, easy. Now, you could put a little asterisk on it. He had the weakest heat, so it made him look a little more dominant than, I'm not sure if he would have that much of a smooth sailing prelim if he was in a different heat. But with that being said, he is running through these 2 rounds perfectly the way you want to run if you're a vet, where you want to get through as little energy possible, be ready to go in that final and let it rip and try to PB in that final. And I think he's going to. I think he's going to PB. And I would put money on him medaling. I think that the people who I trust most to medal would be Lyles, DeGrasse, and Knighton. Now, I don't think those will be the 3 medalists. I think something weird's gonna happen.
Hold up, you left out the top ranked 200 meter runner in the world according to rankings. You left.
No, I know. But the reason why I'm leaving off Bednarik is because Do
you know how many times he's run 19.8 this year or 19.9? Because you told me before how many times. You listed all the times.
I think I left him off.
Go ahead. I feel good about Bednarik. That's all I want to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also do feel good about Bednarik. I did rank him number 1. I may or may not actually pick him to win and hopefully he gives me good odds. The odds aren't out yet. But what I'm saying is, I think I've left Kenny B off the list because I kind of want him to be under the radar in my mind to kind of be like, yeah, I knew it. And I also want to, I think Bednarik is also, I think, if I'm being honest, I think he's going to win. I think if DeGrasse and Bednarik don't win, I think Lyles will win. And if I think none of those 3 will win, I think Arian Knighton will win. I don't think we're going to get to the 4th permutation.
Okay, as those 2.
I don't think that's the order of finish. I don't think it's going to be Kenny B, DeGrasse, Lyles, Knighton. I just have this weird, the way I do it, it's either going to be this person's going to win, and if that's not the winner, then it's this person. If that's not the winner, then it's this person. But it's not necessarily the finish order. I know that's a weird way to think about it, but that's just how my brain works.
We just showed, for those of you watching, the 200 from the Continental Tour in Hungary between DeGrasse, Knighton, and Bednarik. And I think it's just interesting because it just underscores the level of competition that Knighton's been exposed to this year. It's not like a normal high schooler at all. Not even similar to what, if you want to make the parallel to Lyles 2016, and Lyles didn't make the team, but he got real close that year when he was in high school. He wasn't running against this level of competition this consistently. Knighton's been pro for a little bit now, which has freed up, obviously, his schedule and gotten him into these meets. So that's why he looks like he belongs. Because he does. He's been doing this now for several months, and he's got huge talent. Obviously, he's prone to make rookie mistakes like anybody going through that for their first time is. However, how many times does he have to prove it to us? Trials is a pretty high pressure scenario. He got through it fine. he has to just be feeling like I made the final at 17. I'm good.
If
I've
Knight,
gone beyond anything possible. Like he has the least pressure of anybody. Like Lyles, like you could not have, and I know pressure's an illusion. I just want to get that out there right now. Shout out to Sydney. But like you could not have two people at more opposite ends of a pressure spectrum, I
yeah,
think, than Lyles and Knighton. Correct? Because yes, Lyles has a gold, but he doesn't have an Olympic gold, right? He came in as the big favorite. He's got all these guys nipping at his heels all year. And then on the other side of it, you have Knighton, who, as I mentioned, is this his first time through and he's a teenager.
if Knighton beats Lyles in this final and gets silver, let's say gets silver, does Adidas marketing kind of readjust their like campaign for 2022 and put Knighton on the front of every picture with Grant Holloway? It's I think one weird thing about this whole situation is like we kind of anointed Noah Lyles as like the next Bolt before he was Bolt. We just had to do it. I feel like it was a little premature, and I think he would agree with that. But we just see a fast guy running 19.5 winning. We're like, oh, he's our next Bolt. We got it. But maybe Noah Lyles isn't the next Bolt, and maybe this idea of a 17-year-old getting medal, and maybe he's the next Bolt. Not this put Bolt on Knighton.
Maybe there is no next Bolt.
Maybe there is no next Bolt, but next Bolt. I look around, I'm like, oh, that's next Bolt. Oh, over there, you're the next Bolt. Everyone's the next Bolt. Bolt. Lots of bolts.
You're on a worldwide search.
What do you think
Bolt.
Who becomes the star going into next year if Knighton finds a way to be like the top American in this race?
In the U.S.? Think about it. You're talking globally.
Yeah. Okay, no. U.S. Who is the U.S.? All right, if Knighton is the top finisher in this race.
You know I hate these questions, right? You know I hate this
Who
stuff. Is the marketing department going to talk about the most? I don't care. Who
would you call the best sprinter in America when it's May of 2022? Would it be Trayvon Bromell? Would it be Bromell? But he's hurt. He hasn't. Right? Is it Curly? I don't know. Is it Christian Coleman coming off suspension? Is it Knighton? Or is it Noah Lyles who had a bad Olympics? Like, who would you argue is the greatest male sprinter active, assuming Knighton wins? Not win, but gets second or third, but top American. Like, what's your power rank? He's behind. What's your American sprinter power ranking?
What's my American sprinter power ranking? And you're asking me this before the 200 and the 400, or does the 400 not count in this?
400 doesn't count. Sprinter 200, 100.
Does 400 meter hurdles count? Because I know a guy.
No. And neither do 110 hurdles. They don't count either.
No. Okay, so just 100, 200?
But it is going to. Yeah.
I don't know.
Answer the question now, and then give me the ranking after this 200. I want to know your pre-200.
Oh, I think it'll still be. I guess I'm kind of confused on what you're asking. Are you saying like who will get the lion's share of the attention, or who has the best chance to win a gold in 2022?
Who has the best chance to win gold in 2022, assuming Knighton gets second in this race and DeGrasse wins?
Yeah, I mean, I would
is it
probably
Curly
still,
or is it Bromell and Lyles and Coleman? Like those five, right? So how would you?
Yeah, actually, I honestly don't know. I'm not just trying to be evasive. Like I literally do. It's a good question. It's a really good question. I mean, I guess we'll know. Like if Bromell runs the 4x1 and then runs postseason, we'll know he's healthy, and then I might be inclined to go back to him. But yeah, you can't discount Curly's silver, and if he figures out the 200, it seems like he'd be pretty damn good there too. Coleman coming back. Yeah, there's cases for all of them. But okay, we got to get some more events though.
There's not a single person kind of separating themselves. It feels like the U.S. sprinter field. It was all Gatlin, or Tyson. But now it's kind of a little mix mash, and we don't really know.
All right, you can pick the next event. I think we only have about 15 minutes left, so we got to be careful with the time here.
Okay, so prelims. Men's 5K. Everyone, the 3 Americans all get through. Luckily, that second heat was the fast heat, the one with 2 Americans. So Grant Fisher was able to get in on time. A lot of recognizable NCAA names making the final,
Yeah.
right? Justin Knight was there. Obviously, Grant Fisher. Louis Grijalva was able to get in as a last time qualifier over Morgan McDonald. I thought that was a big shocker. But Louis Grijalva going from not sure if he'll be able to go to the Olympics because they don't sure if they let him back into the country because of the DACA rules, is now running in the Olympic final. That's incredible. But this result, it gives me kind of hope that Paul Chelimo is ready to medal, if maybe be in contention to win. I think Chelimo could win.
Well, you said you got two Americans potentially for gold. Yeah, that heat too was like an episode of Run Junkie with all those names out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Katir looks real good. Chelimo hugged him before they crossed the line, which was an interesting move. He either puts you in a headlock after the line, but right after the line, or he hugs you while the race is still going on. Those are the two sides to Paul Chelimo. Big story here. Ethiopia they didn't let Barega double back from the 10K, which was a decision, but they had their steepler double back, and he didn't make it. So we only have one Ethiopian in there. We only have one Kenyan in there, right? We obviously you have Kiplimo and Cheptegei, who are going to be solid. I mentioned Katir already, but there is an opening. I think Mohamed, who's medaled in the past, is going to be solid. However, with Ethiopia choosing interesting selections for who ran this 5K, I think it does. Like, you'd have to figure. So who ran? It was Kajelka and Barega, right? And then they had that Aragawi, who ran really well too. I think if you picked those 3, I think you would have gotten 2 through to the final and would have had at least one I'm not sure thing for a medal, but somebody would have been in it with that last kick, right? And instead you have one person through to the final. And you want numbers. You want numbers going into the final. I think Kiplimo and Cheptegei are going to be solid, but and they're going to try to make it fast again. But I agree with you. I think Chelimo's odds definitely went up after these heats, and so did Kincaid's too, and Fisher's.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of people, right? Katir's odds went up. I think that just the evolution of the men's 5K is constantly with the exodus and the entrance of certain countries into this event. I think is fascinating. Obviously, Uganda, they have 3 athletes, and like Uganda is running the way like Kenya ran 20 years ago in this event.
Yeah,
I feel like just Kenya, and you could like we are doing a 10K marathon, right? That's we people, and I think countries and all the athletes are kind of taking advantage. You have a Moroccan winning the steeple, right? You have the Norway guys, obviously Ingebrigtsen in there. Spain, USA finding a way. Canada has 2 guys in the final. I just think there's a kind of change of where Justin Knight looked good.
Justin
just
Knight
the East Africans are kind of changing what they focus on.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
Sorry, I was interrupting.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, you said the word Justin Knight and I did word association and yelled Justin Knight because we've seen him in major championships before and you looked at him and you thought there's still a level to go. That's how I saw it. Hey, this guy's solid in the NCAA, champion a couple times over, but like there's still a level to go. And I know you can't read everything into a prelim, but when I saw him in there mixing it up, it just like he looked like a guy who's experienced and a guy who's smashed 13 minutes this year and runs with that newfound confidence. So I'm excited to see him in the final. Yeah, Canada should be solid as well too. Let's go to the 1500. First round of the 1500. Your thoughts on that one?
Pretty much everyone got in that should have. There was a couple weird moments, like Lewandowski fell, but he got in. I think he advanced by being tripped. Josh Kerr kind of was a little shaky, but obviously Chariot and Ingebrigtsen, they're fine. They're gonna sleepwalk through these 2 rounds, and they're obviously the heavy 1-2 favorites. But that spot for third is a toss-up. You could there's just so many different guys. The 2 the two Americans, Hawker and Centro. Kerr can do it. Whiteman could do it. Lewandowski. I could go down and down the list, but
McSwain.
McSwain, yeah, Oliver Hoare. You can just keep going and find all these guys who you like. Yeah, you have a perfect day. You can finish third behind the top two. And I think, obviously, interesting seeing Nick Willis make the second round. He barely got into the first round with the world ranking. He was the last one in. They had to adjust one of his races, so it kind of increased his odds to get in. But Nick Willis finding a way to get through the first round. If Nick Willis makes the final, that would be incredible. How old is he now? How old is Nick Willis?
He's older than I am.
Is he 30? He's older than you. 38?
Which is incredible. Yeah, 38.
38. So
not much
incredible.
older than I am. I said that with such confidence, and he's not much older than I am. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought Hawker looked real poised and doesn't show any signs of running out of gas. Central ran with a lot of confidence up front. He looks like his close is there. The thing is this is just building to that predictable final that we know how that first 800 of the finals, like Chariot's going to take it out. And there might be someone who goes with them because McSwain likes to push the pace and he's another contender. There's other guys in here who are okay. Oliver Hoare has been good pushing this, but we know it's going to be a fast one, right? It might be one of the faster championship 1500s we ever see, just because of, if the weather cooperates, just because of the people that are involved here. Lewandowski gets through after falling, though. He got reinstated. Yeah. That was almost a disaster for him. Jogs through, so he saved his legs a little bit for the next round. But yeah, it's gonna be a dogfight for the spots in the final, just because we talked about it before. We're like, Norway's got a solid team, UK's got a solid team, Australia's got a solid team, the US has a solid team, Kenya has a solid team, and on and on and on and on and on. One bit of news for the Americans: we found out right before the race that Naguse scratched with an injury that he picked up over there in Tokyo.
Yeah, and the coach came out, Carlson, saying like they were trying everything they do to get him ready, and they didn't know for sure that he wasn't able to sprint until the warm-up. I think they were trying to just kind of cross-training and kind of rehabbing it throughout all of the past 2 to 3 weeks. And then push came to shove. The moment you had to decide on race day, it didn't work. So obviously people will be like, hey, if you were hurt, you should have let Craig Engels in. Yes, I can understand that argument. Craig Engels is probably like, what the hell? I was ready. I could have gone, put me on a flight. But I think Naguse, the way he looked at his injury, was that it wasn't a hang up, the cleats were done injury. It was like, let's see, maybe it'll be fine if we just have another 2 weeks, and then we'll be good to go on August 3rd. But it didn't happen. So. And Naguse is given the benefit of doubt. When you finish top 3, you're allowed to do these types of things. Yeah. You're allowed to wait to the last moment. You don't have to force yourself to run injured, and you also don't have to force yourself to scratch early because you think you might not be ready. So,
yeah. Do you know who would make that same call? Literally every person, if they qualified for the Olympics. Because if you even have a fraction of a chance to get healthy on the line, you're going to give it a shot. And that's what he did. And we've seen this in past Olympics too, where people drop out of the race and then talk about how they were injured. Well, why did they do that? Why did they take a spot? Because if you think you could do it, you're not going to pass up the opportunity, and you earn that spot at trials. Yeah. Now, it's one thing if you're just clearly, like if you have a stress fracture 3 weeks out and you can't even move, that's different. But if there's even a tiny, tiny, tiny possibility that you can run, you're going to do it, because these opportunities are not guaranteed. Let's go now to the field events, Gordon. I'll let you run through these ones. We had finals in the women's hammer, which was won by Anita Wolarczyk. Big day for Poland there. They get 2 medals there. U.S. shut out of the medals. Men's pole vault, where Mondo cleared 6:02 and took some cracks at the world record as well. Chris Nielsen of the U.S. was second. And then women's long jump, where Malika Mahambo, on the last attempt, cleared jumped 7 meters to narrowly edge Brittany Reese and S.A. Bruma. It was a very dramatic competition, very, very close there in the women's long jump.
Yeah, looking from a Team USA perspective, there were some great performances and some disappointings. I would say on the women's hammer throw side, we had 3 women who all were medal potential: Gwen Berry, Brooke Anderson, and Deanna Price. Price could have won. She's thrown over 80 meters, but none of them just had it. Like 2 of them didn't make it to the final 3 throws, Anderson and Berry, and Price was in 8th place going into the final 3 throws and just was never able to be the high 70 type throw that she was all year long. So it's kind of a disappointment for Team USA in the hammer. I thought we could have had 2, for sure, 1 medalist in that event. In the women's long jump, Brittany Reese, I knew she was going to medal. She was in the lead the entire time, but as you mentioned, the Germany athlete took over. But Tara Davis kind of didn't have her best day either. And I think the reason why Tara didn't jump well, I think it's just the rookiness of it. It's her first global championship.
Is that a word?
I think that the rookiness of it. I honestly think she needed this type of performance to kind of recognize that, like, hey, it's not Big 12 anymore. It's not NCAA. It's not even USA's where all you need is top 3. I willing to say it now. I think Tara Davis is going to win in 2022. And I think the reason she's going to win in 2022 is because of the 6th place performance. I think she has the talent. She's going to go into next year and she's going to be jumping 7 meters blindfolded. Like, it's just going to be cakewalk. I think next year, but she needed to have kind of come to a humbling, not come to Jesus, but like a little bit of a humble moment, because she's been winning everything, right? Dominating. She's the face of the NCAA, doing all this stuff. Texas Relays, NCAAs, everyone's loving it. Here, that, all this, going pro, all this stuff is happening so much. It's a lot, right? And to take all that and put it all away to get really honed in when you're going up against, the best in the world, it's hard. And Brittany Reese showed like the experience. She won her 11th global medal. Like, that's just like experience. And Tara doesn't have that, but now she has a little bit of it. And I think Tara has the talent. And I think 2022, she's going to win. And I think then 2024, she'll win gold as well. So that was my reaction to that.
Yeah, I hear your reaction. I also don't want to jump to too many conclusions based on centimeters here, because she goes 684. She was very consistent, right? Very, very, very consistent. And she just couldn't get that one big one in. But if she did and run, and jumps a 698 instead of a 684, we're having an entirely different conversation. Reese, though, man, tip of the cap to Brittany Reese, another medal, one of the most underrated careers in track and field. She already has an Olympic gold, all sorts of world championship gold, all sorts of indoor gold. Like, you look at what she's done in this sport, it's phenomenal. The level of performance that she's sustained for all these years. And she was so close. It would have been an insane end for her in that last jump, because she got that, Mahambo 7 meters clutch 6th jump, but then Reese had the last crack at it. She didn't quite have it. It would have been crazy if she was able to pull out a 7.01. But for her to even get a silver, I know she definitely wanted gold, but for her to get a silver and just to add to the medal haul is just it's just a phenomenal performance for a person who had a phenomenal career. She was tied with Broom, and Broom beat her on countback until round 5. I think Reese gets it back on countback when she does a 696. So there was a lot of back and forth here to this competition. It was a fun one to watch.
So, and then men's pole vault, Mondo was going to win. He was perfect. It was never in a doubt. Chris Nielsen gave him a little bit of a challenge, had a good run, but Mondo didn't miss a single attempt, became the gold medalist, and then went for the world record. It was like perfect. He did 5 jumps, clinched gold, and then went for the world record. It's what we expected. Chris Nielsen, a solid PB and a medal. No Sam Kendricks, obviously, in this meet. bummer for that because he probably could have been there with the Brazil athlete, even with Nielsen, could have been challenging Duplantis. But we'll have to wait till 2022. Duplantis, though, got his first global gold,
Yeah.
right? This is the first one. So the doomsday scenario that I created where like he breaks all these world records and then he doesn't get his first gold when he should. That didn't happen. It was never in a doubt. There was no pressure or choking going on. It was over by the time, he did his fourth jump. So big ups to Duplantis. We talked enough about him all year long. There's nothing much more to add. What I do want to add is going into the gambling, I did put money on Chris Nielsen to medal at -118. So I won $85 because of that. And I sent a screenshot to Travis if you want to bring it up. This has been my roller coaster. After day one, I was down $100 because I missed the Chepta guy pick. After day two, I was up $475. So I went on a run. And then day three, I went on a run of losing, and I went back down to $125. Then the second half of day three, I went back up on a run, and I went up to $937. And now
walk away.
I completed another run of losing, and I went all the way down to $437. But now Chris Nielsen's medal, I'm back to go back on another run, back up. As you notice, I go on these streaks. I go on hot and cold streaks, and I'm now starting a new hot streak with Nielsen. It's going to be Scantlin and Williams, the two USA athletes. They're going to medal. They're going to make me some money. I'd have Muhammad beating Bull, which might not happen, but I have Dalila Muhammad beating Femke Bull. I'll win $85 if that happens. And then I have the second half of a parlay. Reese got the medal, and then I need Rudy Winkler to medal, and then I got it. And then I got some big ones. I haven't told anyone this, but guess who has 100-1 odds in the women's 1500? I'll just tell you.
Perrier St. Pierre.
El Perrier St. Pierre. Her odds are 100-1, not 10-1, 100-1. So that means if you put $50 on Perrier to win gold in the 1500, you win $5,000.
What's
so
Norman?
I put $50.
Isn't Norman?
Norman is
100-1 too, basically?
Norman's 10-1.
Oh,
no,
10-1. Oh.
There's a big difference.
Okay.
10-1, you win $1,000 for $100. So I did that. I put $50 on
you want some advice
to win gold, and I'll win $5,000 if it happens. It's not going to happen, but if it happened, it happens. That's my mindset.
Here's two things I think you can do, and you can take either path here. Path one, quit while you're ahead. You don't need to keep doing this for the show. Like, they don't know. You can continue to fill these in red and green, but you can take your money out, right? You could cancel these bets still. That's number one. Number two, if you decide to stay in, I think what you should do is take all of your money and put it on the 4x4. Because it always comes down to the 4x4.
I haven't made the 4x4 bets. I do have
What's the U.S. women? What's the U.S. women in the 4x4?
Ridiculous. They're not going to let the bet happen. You're not going to be able to give them enough money for them to. No, what
are the U.S. men?
That is an idea. I might do that, but we're not there yet. It's only August 3rd. We still got time. You guys see my upcoming picks. This is who you should cheer for. So I make some money. I got big bold picks in the women's 3K steeple and the men's 800. If Coburn wins, I win $250. If Clayton Murphy wins, I win $1,000. And then I'm back in the game. So the idea is I'm probably going to go on a losing streak, and then Clayton Murphy is going to make up for it, and I'll be back in the winners. So Murphy and Coburn, big fans right now.
These ones that you missed weren't like I would have done the same thing, I think. Like, I want to criticize you, but right? Miller Weibo medal. I was like, Miller Weibo get a medal. Price getting
Riki,
gold.
She almost had it.
Not that. Yeah, I thought Riki had a shot at gold, to be honest. I thought if Mo stumbled for any reason, it'd be Riki that would pick it up, and she just missed it. Benjamin, you got good value there. And Sagai, I thought, hey, that's a good choice. We don't know. I don't know if you made that. Did you make that before you knew Safan Hassan was running or after?
Before I just made it. I just won the odds. Safan I was like, let's go for it. She's run 353 in a 1500. Maybe she'll kick her down. Yeah. You go for the odds. Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm going on these runs. I'm winning a lot and losing a lot. And as long as I end up +0, I'm good. So I figured it out. So there's 44 $100 bets. So the worst I could do is lose $4,400. But right now, the worst I can do is lose $2,128. So I've already cut in half my potential losing. Like, so the worst situation is I lose $2,000. Before the meet started, the worst situation was I lose $4,000. But now I'm down to only losing $2,000. So as long as that number goes down all the way to 0, I'll be good. So here we go. Scantlin, Williams, Muhammad. Those are the people who I need to come through for Gordon Mack's bank account. And you guys can do these picks. You got They're free. No charge.
Attitude of a champion. Attitude of a champion. Do not do what Gordon's doing. Do not. That's it for today's episode. Thank you to Colt for producing. Thank you to Travis for producing. Remember, subscribe to the FloTrack Podcast YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can find the FloTrack Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever else you listen to podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow, early morning in the U.S. for another recap. See if it can match this day. Going to be tough. We'll talk to you then.